Okay, today I want to talk about the foods that I used to help me lose weight. And if you've seen my other videos on the fundamentals of weight loss, you're going to see how these foods cover the fundamentals that I think a diet should cover. So the majority of your diet should be based on foods that cover these fundamentals. And that's kind of what I incorporated when I lost weight. And it's a blend of what worked for me, but also what I learned from the science and the research and all the work that I do in learning about lifestyle medicine and weight loss. This is what worked for me. It's not necessarily that it may work for you. It may do, but the key thing with these foods is it is not a step-by-step guide, meal plan, eat this at 9 a.m., this at 12 p.m., this at 3 p.m. This is getting you to understand why I picked these foods, why they worked for me, and then using that to find what works for you. It may be the same, it may be different, it may be slightly adapted, but you understand why you're picking those foods, you work out what works for you, and then you implement that into your daily life. So if you haven't seen that video on the fundamentals, go and watch it. But the key things that I pick in the foods that I eat to lose weight is that I want them to be high satiety, so high fullness. That means that when I eat it, I want them to really fill me up. I want them to be low calorie density, and that's a combination with the high satiety. So low calorie density foods, which is foods that are low in calories but high in volume, alone don't necessarily, like the best of those don't necessarily work by themselves. That would be things like salads, your vegetables. If I just ate a plate of salad with some protein or vegetables with protein, I don't get that full. So I want the satiety as well. I want low calorie density and satiety. Also, I want foods that don't really overly spike your insulin constantly throughout the day, or a very high spike. I don't want a very sharp increase in glucose and then a spike in insulin. And if you want to get more details on that, watch the video on fundamentals to understand why that's the case. And I also want the foods to provide me with energy and have some element of variety. The energy and variety is because I need to be able to do them long term. If I'm eating something that does not give me energy, even if it covers the other fundamentals, I'm not going to be able to keep it up. This is something that I'm not doing for the next 60, 90 days. This is something I still do now, even though it's been about 2 years since I lost weight and maintained my weight. I do this all the time. So it's got to be something that I keep up with. And so I need the variety because I need to be able to sort of make different foods with it and different tastes, and it also needs to give me energy and nutrition. I need to be able to sleep well. I need to be able to work out, do the things that I enjoy doing. A diet that is extremely low in calorie or extremely devoid of the nutrients and minerals that we need is going to make you feel sluggish, exhausted, and tired, and then that's also not going to work that well. A lot of the time you'll see people, fitness influencers, people on YouTube, social media, talk about foods that they use to lose weight, and a lot of the time it's like substitute foods. So it's like a dessert or pudding that you can get a low calorie version of. You can get sort of a protein yogurt or protein pudding. It's like a lower calorie version of the actual thing. Pizzas, I see a lot low calorie pizzas that you can make yourself and cauliflower bases or buy. You see it everything now. You can get low calorie protein crisps, low calorie protein crackers. There's everything. Those things do have a place. I mean, so you could argue that if you feel like you're craving that kind of junk food, but you don't want to eat the typical junk food, the high calorie junk food, then great, just try those instead. For me, those didn't work that well because they didn't fulfill the fundamentals. If I ate a low calorie pudding or a low calorie yogurt or low calorie pizza, I just didn't get that full. So I would eat it. It feels low calorie density. It nails that one. It's got a high volume and it's quite low calorie. But I didn't get that full from it. I eat it, and within an hour I could eat another one. Sometimes not even within an hour. Like I could eat a low calorie pizza that I make with a cauliflower base. I could eat that, and then I could just eat another one. Same with the puddings. Like I could eat a chocolate. You can buy these like branded. I can't remember the brand, but you can buy these branded like puddings, protein puddings. They're only like 60 calories per pot. I could eat one of those and then just eat another one straight away afterwards. So they didn't fulfill those fundamentals for me. I also am still unsure, based on the research, how much sweeteners affect insulin sensitivity. I think there is some level of insulin, glucose and insulin secretion from them. So if you're eating it a lot and snacking on those a lot throughout the day, then again, you're going to run into the same issue. So okay, let's go into the foods that I ate. So I've done 5 main foods that I incorporated in like my main meals, like your lunch and your dinner. I'll touch on 2 that I did eat a lot for breakfast and a snack when I felt like it, but these are for your main meals. Because what I want really you to do, or what I did, is I based like 6 to 7 meals that I enjoyed out from these foods, and I kind of just like rotated those around all the time. Like, we don't eat that much variety. If you've got 6 to 7, 5 to 6 main meals that you can rotate for lunch and dinner throughout your week, you're golden. 80% of the time you're eating that, you're golden. You don't need to worry about the rest of the time, and so that gives enough variety. And there has to be enough variety in those foods to be able to make 6 to 7 different meals. So the foods, I think there's 5 I've got here. Sweet potato, white potato, and I'll explain that in a second, lentils, chickpeas, and beans. And that's any type. I say beans as a food, I mean any type, like red, kidney beans, black beans, pinto beans, any bean. Those foods are the foods that I started incorporating in my meals consistently all the time, and they incorporated the fundamentals that I spoke about earlier. And so and there was enough in there that I could get variety and make different foods. For snacks and for breakfast, eggs I ate a lot, and they also fulfill that criteria for me. And that may not be the case for everyone. A lot of people can eat like boiled eggs or scrambled, a lot of it, and not get that full. I mean, they're not low calorie density really, eggs, but for me they do make up for the lack of low calorie density with satiety. And the insulin secretion, so they worked for me. And the other thing for snack was Greek yogurt. That really works for me. It covers all the points. I mean, it fills me up. It's not that caloric. A good amount of energy you're getting from it. All these foods you get a good amount of energy for it. So I don't use like substitute foods, as I said earlier. They just don't work for me because a lot of the time, apart from the lack of fullness that I get from, they also don't provide me that much energy. If I eat 3 protein puddings, I don't really get that much energy from it, but these foods do. So for snacks and for breakfast, eggs and yogurt. That's not to say you can't have chickpeas, lentils, whatever for breakfast either. You can. It's an easy thing. I used to boil eggs a lot. I used to scramble eggs a lot. It was a quick, easy thing for me to have for breakfast. But I'm not going to touch on those in this. The main things: sweet potato, white potato, lentils, chickpeas, and any type of bean. I basically combined that with a protein, and then anything else you like, some vegetables, whatever you want, in most of my meals. And you can make so many meals out of this. I mean, you can have just a simple sweet potato. You can make them into fries, you can mash it, whatever you want. You can combine that with any protein, chicken, beef, salmon, eggs even, whatever you want, and have something on the side that you enjoy. And for me, that would really fill me up. Chickpeas, lentils, beans, the same. I mean, you can incorporate any in combination with almost anything else, and it would just be a really filling meal. Not that high in calorie density. I mean, obviously some are more than others. You get some are lower calorie density, some have higher satiety, but in balance of that and insulin secretion. So for example, chickpeas, lentils, really good for insulin secretion. They just don't really spike your glucose that much and cause a flood of insulin through your body. So I think there's actually something called the chickpea effect or the lentil effect or something, where it's like if you eat that, then every meal you have after that, your glucose is actually dampened. So if you were going to eat a junky meal, it's still better to have that meal like an hour or so after you ate some chickpeas or lentils, because it dampens the glucose response of that meal later on, which is a benefit for weight loss, because insulin is a bit of it's not that it's a complete detriment, but it does have some effect on our fat levels, fat storage. And if you want to understand more about that, then my video on fundamentals is the best one to watch. So those are the foods. They worked for me. White potato, some of you might be jumping up and down saying that is a high GI starchy food. And there is some element of it. It has a relatively high insulin response. Like I said, these are a balance. And like I said before, this is what worked for me. White potato is very high on the satiety index. I think it's the highest actually in foods in fullness. So it keeps you super full, and it worked for me really well. I used to cook it, I think it's called Syracuse potatoes, small new baby white potatoes in salt, in water, and boiled. And they like look up recipe for, I'm sure it's Syracuse potatoes. I can write it in the description, but look up recipes for it. Really tasty. And again, I used to combine it with lean minced beef, and I used to make the potatoes and then put the beef on top and then put some veggie and salads on the side. And that would be a really filling meal for me. It covers those two of satiety, and it's pretty low calorie dense. And I didn't, I mean, obviously I don't measure my glucose. I don't really buy into the whole constant glucose monitoring thing. It's as a side note, but I think for what it provided me with satiety, fullness, and energy, it was a no-brainer for me. That doesn't necessarily mean it might work for you. If you try it and you find that you eat boiled potatoes and you can just eat them by the truckload, which some people can, then this is what I said. It's maybe not something that works for you, but it did work for me. And maybe you can try something else, sweet potato or a different food. These are the foods that worked for me. They ticked all the boxes. They also prevented me from getting bored. I could vary them up. I could cook them in different styles. You can cook chickpeas in an Asian style. You can cook lentils in an Asian style. You can cook beans in a Mexican style. Like, there's so many different variants that you can make from it. White potatoes, sweet potatoes, different things you can do for them. But these are what work for me. My recommendation is that you find what works for you, and then you create 6 to 7 meals with the base of that and some protein, and then whatever veggies and salads and whatever else that you like. And then if you also feel like something sweet after that, fine, just have something that you like at the end of it. And what that does is, because you've already had a meal that's very filling, high satiety, low calorie density, a little bit of something at the end of it isn't going to go crazy with your insulin. It's going to keep, you're already full, so it's easy to not overeat on that. And you can allow for, enjoying that. And this is how you start working towards that intuitive eating, balanced eating. This is how you get to do things for a long time, because you're not restricting yourself. If you feel like something, there's always that, my mom always says, I need something to change the taste. So if you need something to change the taste at the end of this, it's better to eat it at the end of a meal like this and have a biscuit or have something that you like, because that is that's exactly how you work towards eating a balanced diet, because you're full enough. And the slower you eat, the better, because you're allowing your body to really respond to that fullness and what you're eating. You're full enough to not then go crazy and binge on it. Other things, other diets, other foods, they just didn't work for me in the same way. I would always end up either overeating or restricting myself too much and then failing and then feeling like a failure. I've talked about this in other videos. So my recommendation is find what works for you. Try these foods out. If you're starting from scratch, try these foods out. If they keep you full, they provide you with energy and nutrients, they have a relatively low calorie density, so you can eat a lot of it, because you want to eat a lot of it. You want to be full. The key thing with this is not to have a tiny little meal. It's to have a big meal and feel full. That's the whole point. That's why you're balancing these fundamentals. Find what works for you. Make 6 to 7 meals out of it. Rotate those 80% of the time. Enjoy a little bit of food where you like it at the end of it. There you go. You've got a balanced diet that you can sustain for a long time. And guess what? That is really, really the basis of weight loss. It's consistency combined with this. So I hope that was helpful. Hope it worked for you, and I'll see you all on the next one very soon.